Attention listeners, Aftersight's annual hike is coming up on July 27th.
It was a really good experience for me.
Visit aftersight.org/hike and become an audio trekker today.
That hike today gave me so much courage.
Hey, you're listening to Blindsight. Let's go. Mental health isn't something to take lightly. It's time to fight. It's time to thrive. Let's do this.
Hi there. Welcome to Blindsight. This is your host, Bill Lundgren. Glad to have you on board and listening. First off, of course, this is May, and this program is part of the whole month of May being devoted to mental health issues for women. And also, we'll be introducing a new program in June, which is going to be on blind athletes. And I think that'll be something to really look forward to, the podcast. We have some exciting hosts, and it'll be a real interesting program. In July 27th, there is a hike to which everybody is invited, north of Boulder, and you can get more information on our website, aftersight.org. And let's see, I think that covers everything I have to announce for the moment. We'll be talking about sexual abuse in this episode, and I have to caution, if it's upsetting, you need to keep in mind to call 988, which is the national hotline if you need to talk to someone. But it's an important subject and one that we need to talk about. And I am delighted to introduce you all to Amy Wilson. And Amy, welcome to Blindsight.
Thank you for having me. It's a privilege to be here.
Well, we'll find out. Okay, now, you have an organization I want to start off with. Could you tell me the name of the organization and a little bit about it?
Our organization is a non-for-profit called Safety Positive Foundation. We are in the business of problem solving the personal safety needs of the blind community.
Great. Now, is that for both men and women?
Absolutely.
Good.
Yep.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit of how you got into this? What made you decide to form this organization? Because it's almost brand new, right?
Yes, we launched it March 3rd of 2023, so we have not even reached our 1-year marker yet, and we have already served over 700 people. So
wow.
I spent a lot of time marketing my butt off, being at different conventions and talking to different people, doing different breakout sessions, and serving people virtually, and just newsletters. And my brain is just boggled by how many people we've reached, and we haven't even hit the 1-year marker. So.
I know, that is incredible, but it also says something about the need. How did you get into it?
So it's quite an interesting story now that people keep kind of asking me, and it's forced me to think about it. I have been teaching personal safety within the blind community for almost 8 years now. I was one of those many coaches in the One Touch Project. And so anytime I bring up personal safety, people are like, One Touch. And I'm like, yep. What many people don't know is there were problems behind the closed doors as far as that goes. I want to bring awareness to that as far as that goes. So I was only in that for a couple of years. And then after that, I got with another organization that me and 10 other people who were all coaches in One Touch kind of decided that we wanted to create something that what we wanted everything One Touch to hope and dream it to be. And after doing that for 2 years, I realized that it was still not enough in my mind. And also, I really struggled with the sort of fear mongering that I felt that people were doing, and it's my personality. It's a me thing. I'm not holding any ill will towards anybody, but what I'm fully aware of is there's enough fear in the blind community that we don't need to, in our presentations, talk about the statistics every single time. Everybody has got their story of why they're there to learn personal safety. So we didn't really need to sell the why. People it's always the top 3 of why they needed to do it. But the other part is why do we need to have a special program for the blind community? Why can't we take kind of what's out there and adapt it for the blind community? And that's what I've been doing, is I've taken what's out there and simply adapted it for us. There's no reason that we can't have equal access to what the sighted world has. And so I've been doing that with virtual trainings, and this year we're starting with hands-on stuff. And in my younger years, I started with learning wrestling and judo, and I'm a domestic violence survivor, and I'm not just a one-time domestic survivor. I've been sexually assaulted. My ex-husband abused me in multiple ways. And I've been in other relationships where I've been emotionally and mentally abused and verbally abused. And so when people come and talk to me about their stories, I can generally relate in a lot of different ways, but it's also the reason that we've designed Safety Positive the way we have, of teaching psychological safety first, because people need to focus on that psychological safety side first before they get to the hands-on part first. Because even with my trainings and things like that, I still went through those things. So that's where Safety Positive really takes that proactive. You've got to be, it's got to become part of your lifestyle. And there's, as we like to say, there's a method to the madness of what we do in Safety Positive Foundation. My story's a roller coaster of sorts, I guess.
Could you share some of that? Would you feel comfortable sharing some of that? Because sometimes we can talk theoretically, but at the same time, what you're saying is, I've been through this, so it's coming from a personal experience.
Yeah. So once I was diagnosed, people started feeling that they could push those boundaries, and I didn't quite know how to respond to it. But my first encounter of when I was sexually assaulted, I did speak up to somebody, and looking back at it, the way that they responded, I understand now that the reason they responded the way they did was because of their own psychological issues, the way that they sort of had their own challenges in life and things like that.
So you weren't believed, or you were too close to where they were, so they couldn't respond in care of you.
I was basically told to kick him in the boy parts, and that was sufficient. There was no let's talk about it, let's report it, let's confront it out. Any of the things that I would do for my children.
Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Type of situation. And so when things happened again, I didn't feel that I could tell anybody.
Right. Right.
Why would I tell anybody? The first person didn't handle it well. And so it kind of just got put on a loop in my mind. And I've watched that happen to people who have talked to me now, to where it's like, well, I told somebody and they didn't believe me, or it didn't get handled well, or X, Y, and Z. And I'm just like, I feel you 100%. And this is why I'm so big on we need to learn, what are the proper, protocols, what is healthy consent and boundaries?
Right.
How do we report? And the earlier the better, because my first encounter was when I was 12. As far as that goes. And the other piece that I actually know I've repressed was people think that this does not happen to people within our own, blind community. And so I've actually had people with, other blind people within the community who have been, predators to me as far as that goes. And they're like, well, disabled people don't do that. And it's like, yes, they do.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I've had, where sighted staff members have talked to me. It's like, well, this blind person was doing this. And I'm like, it's not okay for them to do that. And they're like, well, I just didn't know. And it's like, no. This is not okay. Did you report them? Like, did you say something? Like, I don't care if they're a unicorn with purple polka dots. Like, it does not matter. Like what? No. So we have people within our own community who are utilizing this to their advantage. And I've heard people even make comments to that effect of, well, I'm blind and I can get away with it. And I'm like, oh, hell no. Like, and I've spoke up and I'm like, that is not okay. But who do you report them to? Who do you tell it to?
Exactly.
And so that's one of the reasons, also for, me wanting to do this is because, and I tell this to my team all the time. I'm like, if you hear something, or even if it's somebody within our community, on our team, if there's some psychological safety, physical safety stuff going on, you tell us. You talk about it. We we need communication, because we need to know what's going on, whether it's, even if it's somebody having, a mental health struggle. Right. I want to know what's going on, type of stuff. Like, we're here to have each other's back and to keep people safe, or even if it's somebody that's potentially not safe, we want to keep them out of, out of the circle.
Right.
As far as that goes. So.
And that's a big controversy right now within the blindness community. But even I'll be presenting in another month to a large group of counselors. And every time I give them just a few of the statistics about sexual abuse, 83% of women with disabilities have been sexually abused, according to some of the are abused in their lifetime, and I don't have it for blindness, but for men who are deaf, hearing impaired, the number is 53% of them have been sexually abused, and 10% of men who are not disabled report any kind of abuse. So those are big numbers. And every time I say that, everybody's surprised. I don't understand why, but an audience is going to express surprise because nobody's talked about it. And I'm awfully glad to hear you talk about it.
It is a huge problem, and with the research that I have found, with the I'm trying to think, it's the CDC. I want to say it's the CDC or the Department of Justice. No, it's the
Department of Justice. Okay. Mm-hmm.
They between their whether it's physical assaults, sexual assaults, the verbal and emotional abuse. If you add it all up, 4 out of 5 individuals in and I would dare to say in the blind community in their life have been abused or neglected in some shape or fashion in their life. That is what I feel like, because you got, it's, they're saying 90% have been emotionally or verbally abused, statistically. Just that number alone, that's 90%. That's a crazy number right there. I mean, we're not even talking about physical or sexual abuse.
Right.
Or neglect. That's just, so that's where, like, Safety Positive, the first training we offer is our verbal craft training, and it's a self-advocacy and assertive communication training, because people have got to learn to advocate for themselves. We are basically taught to sit there, be compliant and complacent, and I'm saying to hell with that. Like, it is no longer an option. It is for our personal safety, because so many times we're just taught to just go along with it, whether or not we're comfortable with it. That's not okay. Like, because we'll spend the next day, week, month, year sitting there playing that, well, I should have said this, or I should have done that, or I should have said that. Like, that's not healthy. It can be pretty much downright abusive, and I've had it done. I know several other people who have had it done. And when you can sit there in the moment and go, no, I'm not okay with this, that is a huge, huge win in my book. Like, that's what it's all about for me. If we can get more people to sit there and go, no, you're not going to talk to me like this, you're not going to treat me like this, and you can just stick it up your rear end if you're not okay with it, like it's a you problem, not a me problem. That is essentially what we need to be doing, and maybe not in the way I just said it, but like in a polite way. But I mean, it's downright dangerous how people treat us, and they don't even think about it.
Well, I wonder why sometimes, though I think I know the reason. But because people, I think, because people are disabled, somehow we're less than, and then we can be taken advantage of.
Yes.
Did that sound right?
Absolutely. I mean, we are, out of all the diversity minorities, we are the bottom of the barrel. The absolute bottom of the barrel on any minority group. But you can join our group at any time in life. That's the part that kills me. Like, I took a couple of my board members who are sighted. They had never been around blind people in their lives, and they were completely floored at how people were responding to them, because they were treating them with dignity and respect right off the gate. And people were acting like they won the lottery. just based off of being treated with dignity and respect. And that's what I really want people to understand is you're allowed to be treated with dignity and respect for any time, for any reason. And if they're not treating you with dignity and respect, then you don't need them in your life. That's huge. And the first time I ever heard that was from one of my board members last year. He talked me into starting this organization. He was like, "You're allowed to be treated with dignity and respect." And I was like, "Can you please say that one more time?" Like, what?
Yeah, right. Can I ask how long you were in the marriage?
I was in the marriage for 3 years. We were together a total of a year and a half, or for 4.5 years. And I should have known that it was over right after we got married, because right after we got married, we found out I was pregnant with my son, and he wanted me to have an abortion. And I was like, no, I'm not doing it. And then things just got significantly worse from there, as far as that goes. But I've had, I've like I said, I've had an amazing amount of relationships with mental and emotional abuse. I've actually had a relationship to where it was, if you don't stop talking, I'm going to kick you out of the car right now and leave you here, type of situation. I actually had 2 different relationships do that. I was like, what? Are they passing notes? Like, what the hell? So me being able to speak up for myself has taken many years to really get better at. I am fortunate enough that I met my current husband about 8 years ago, 8.5 years ago. And he has done a world of wonders for me and his patience, and allowing me to get better at speaking up for myself, as far as that goes. I don't know if I would have the confidence to be able to speak out for myself and others without his patience, as far as that goes. He's actually the quiet one between the 2 of us. So
maybe that's one of the requirements of a successful marriage.
I don't know.
But you also got the courage to deal with what you have gone through. That's coming across real clearly, and be a model for others to begin to change and to be willing to get better. That's the only way I can put it.
Yes. It honestly started with my son, because I didn't want him to become like me. And I knew the best way to set the example was to lead by example.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was sort of my inspiration of establishing healthy communication, was by being able to communicate with him and break patterns of bad communication. And so me and him actually have really good communication as far as that goes. But when I started teaching One Touch and started getting out in the more in the blind community, I really, because before I started teaching One Touch, I actually, I wasn't really involved in the blind community. I mean, I've been blind for 30 plus years, but I wasn't involved in any of the consumer organizations, or I pretty much just kind of stuck to myself. I wasn't what I would say fully accepting of my blindness. I didn't want to use a white cane or anything to that effect. But once I got integrated and fully just jumped in and started hanging out and going to all the different things and really understood the need, it was like, okay, not only do I need to, be an example for my son, but the community has a large need for this, and one touch didn't cut it. The other organization I worked for, they were just doing a one thing, and I'm like, no, we need lots of resources. We need lots of choices. Because everybody is at different levels in their journey in personal safety. Everybody wants different options. And I don't want to gatekeep that information and or their access to it. I want to make sure that everybody's got as many choices as they want. And so that's what it's about for me, is just making sure people have access to whatever they want. Because the majority of what's been taught is just breaking body parts, and not everybody's comfortable breaking body parts. So I'm just like,
well, how do you mean breaking body parts?
Well, martial arts techniques. Performing a what it would be called a lock, to where you would break the wrist if somebody grabs you, as far as that goes. And I've taught enough classes to where I'd say over half my students, it's like, ooh, this is helpful, but would they do it in a real life situation? Probably not, because they're probably going to freeze.
Yeah, that's right.
The idea of breaking somebody's wrist, it takes a strong mindset to do that, because the reality is the people we are doing this to is not the stranger on the street. It's your intimate partner. It's your caregiver. It's the person that's giving you a ride or something like that. It's definitely not the stranger on the street. Out of all the people that have hurt me over the years, I've only had one stranger hurt me. Everybody else I have known in my personal life.
Right.
So that's the thing that people need to get in their heads is, they keep expecting this stranger to just attack them in the alleyway. That's not what's going to happen. It is literally going to be somebody it's going to be a friend. It's going to be your family member. That's the part that's gut wrenching for people, and that's when people freeze.
Right, and when you realize that this person that is about to do you harm, and have to cross over and say, no, you're not going to harm me. I don't care who you are, and whatever means what I'm hearing you say, whatever means it takes to get that message across. Because the difficult thing is for people to believe that someone who's blind or has any kind of physical disability means what they say. And they're not going to be patsy to anything that someone else may do to them. Just because you have a physical disability does not mean that you're going to allow someone to abuse them. Is that in essence what you're saying?
Yes, that we are not going to be targets. We're not going to be victims. We are going to arm ourselves with the right training and information to protect ourselves. That's what I want people in safety positive to, to understand.
But safety, but your organization is not just taking martial arts as being the only way to do it. There are other
Exactly.
steps that hopefully will do the job, but you've got to have that tool if the other things don't work.
Your mindset is the first part in unlocking it.
Yeah.
You've got to get proactive about your personal safety first and foremost, and that sometimes is the longest part in the journey, and figuring out, first, how do you define personal safety? Because a lot of people don't even have a definition of what that is to
Right.
them.
Right. Absolutely.
And so, you gotta look at that particular part first, but then, people also, want to get into the weapons discussion of, well, I'll just carry a knife or a
Oh,
gun or
geez.
Yep. I've had those conversations, and it's like, well, could you actually, stab somebody? If you cannot do that, then the knives get turned around on people all the time, because the other part is people are not doing ongoing training with it. You've got to practice with those things. And so that's one of the reasons that we got trained in pepper spray, because pepper spray is a great way to where, basically you can protect yourself. It's a, non-lethal way, that, it's a tool you can access. There are other ways, like a flashlight's a great way to where you could, shine it in somebody's eyes, to detour them as far as that goes. But again, we are all about offering choices. In our newsletters, I'm all about referencing to Batman's utility belt, because Batman's totally got, all these different options in his toolkit, or in his utility belt that he whips out. But the ultimate, tool that Batman has is his mind. That's that's the biggest tool that anybody has got to build is your mind, your knowledge, your skills. So many people want to, use this latest app or that latest gizmo or gadget or whatever. But, the more you can build your skills and your knowledge, that is what's going to serve you long term. Because, apps fail, that's not working or whatnot. But, the more you personally know, that's your greatest weapon right there.
Well, the thing is, the phone rings when I don't know where the phone is. The situation comes up where I might be harmed, and I'm not going to remember whatever tool we're talking about. So I have to use what I can instantly bring up, which is what you're saying, the mind and the tools that I have on hand, rather than saying, oh, I'll just have a knife with me. Well, we don't always have a knife or a gun or anything like that. We just have it ourselves.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Good point. I'm glad you offer so many choices, but how long does it take to get the training that you offer?
So we have we offer several different types of training. Our verbal craft training is probably our longest training right now, and it can be done in a 1 day. It's an 8-hour training. As far as that goes. And we are our biggest offering we have that we're getting ready to launch on March 3rd on our 1-year anniversary is our Safety Positive Guide. It's a subscription guide to where it gives people in the blind community 24/7 access to training and resources in personal safety. It's, innovative, revolutionary, never been done before. And we've got different levels as far as that goes, because different people are, more intensive of wanting to learn,
right.
as, and all that. But we so far we've got 2 different levels. Well, actually, we have 3 different levels because we got a free level that anybody can join because we want to make sure that, it's one of those anybody can join the community to ask questions, join our tea times. We have weekly tea times where it's discussions on personal safety topics each month. And then from there, we're packing in more and more information and training because the more that we've been going, people have been learning about us. We're partnering with different companies and organizations to offer more stuff, and I'm I'm a little nervous of how much information is going to be added in a year from now, or even 5 years from
Yeah.
now.
Mm-hmm.
The guide is where it is at. I kind of think of it as like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Right.
Yeah, it's that of the personal safety world for the blind. It's going to have it all.
Ambitious, but I think it's very necessary.
Absolutely. I'm very frustrated with the inconsistency of how the blind community has gotten personal safety information. And so the guide is my way of saying, screw that. Here it is. Everybody needs it, has it. And no matter if, people, because we're letting people, if they want to pay it for the year, they can, or if they want to do monthly stuff, they can do that too. We're flexible, but I just want to make sure that people get access to personal safety training. I'm just that I get obsessive about it. My team says I get on my soapbox about it, but either way, people need the training.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think you're a very articulate proponent of what you're doing. What I particularly respect is that you have a range of things that people can learn rather than one thing or one tool, which I think frightens a lot of people. I know I've had some introductory to martial arts. And, the idea of breaking somebody's wrist is not something I can do readily. Let's put it that way.
Well, we're even, so like I said, we're offering pepper spray training, which
Right.
I don't think that's been something offered in the blind community, like by the blind for the blind.
No, I haven't heard of it. Yeah. Mm-mm.
One of the programs we're going to be introducing in the sometime this year, is a program we're calling Able Arts, and we're going to be offering it to the sighted community because we are tired of. And it goes kind of something into more of where we're going to offer it for martial arts and self-defense teachers, instructors, because we know that when we come and teach, a self-defense program or something, we get people like, I want to learn more. And we get people telling us that, well, I tried to learn in my area, but the person told me that, well, I don't feel safe working with a blind person.
Mm-hmm.
And our team is saying, nope, not anymore. We are going to work with the sighted community on how to work with the blind community, so that way everybody can get access to personal safety and martial arts training if they choose to in their own areas. And the Able Arts, in particular, that specific program is essentially like it's a short program to where people can interact with the blind community in an appropriate manner, to where we don't want to take off their heads, to where people will stop coming up and grabbing us,
Right.
or talking to us like toddlers and stuff like that. So like, we're already like, this would be awesome at airports and and things to that effect, but we just know that we want people to be able to access training anywhere that they live, and our team is only so big, and as far as being able to reach more people, it kind of goes into where we want to build a bridge into the personal safety space as a whole, to where, again, anybody in the blind community can get access to training beyond just taught by the blind. So that's a thing that we're working.
How do people get in touch with you?
So you can go to our website at safetypositivefdn.org. And that's our one of the ways. We're also on Facebook and YouTube. We've got a plethora of videos on our YouTube channel of wonderful safety education information, and on our Facebook we've got tons of great information and resources on there as well.
That's safety positive, 2 words or 1 word, because so often everybody runs things together.
Safety positive, it's separate. If you're searching it on Facebook or YouTube, of course for the website it's all 1 word.
All 1 word. Okay.
Yep.
So would you repeat that again in terms of the web page? I just want to make sure everybody gets it.
Yep. Web page, it is safety positive and the letters FDN.org. And the FDN stands for foundation for short.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. All righty. Well, this has been really exciting to hear about your program. I'm really so glad that you were on, and keep in touch with us and let us know how you're doing. If there's something that you want to talk about in terms of some of the new offerings that you'll be, please let us know, because we'd like to be able to put you back on. I know that I will be talking about your program when I speak to the people in the conference later on, because I think it's very, very necessary. Thank you very much for being on, Amy.
Thank you very much for having me.
My pleasure. This has been Blindsight, your host, Bill Lundgren. It's a pleasure to have Amy on. Reminder, if this talk about sexual assault has upset you, call 988 and talk with the people on the line. If you want to give us some suggestions or feedback, it's feedback at aftersight.org, or by telephone feedback 720-712-8856. Thank you very much.